Good Tuesday evening to you all out there, and welcome into another episode of the Barking Brown Show. I am your host, Jacob at Roachism, third time Magnum PI. That is Mr. Nick Carnes. Casey Kinnaman is out on assignment right at this very moment, doing some stuff that if I told you, I'd have to kill you. We are brought to you as always by our friends over at SeatGeek, so please make sure you go check out our friends over at SeatGeek. You want to go watch those awesome Cavaliers do what the awesome Cavaliers are doing. Go to SeatGeek, use our promo code Barking Browns, all one word. Get $20 off your first purchase.
Somewhere we have a banner somewhere that I'm not currently finding because we're kind of warming our way up. Oh, okay.
Brand tab.
We're warming our way up back into this here Barking Browns and such because it's been a little bit. It's been a little bit, Jacob.
2 weeks, yeah.
Where does the time go? But here we are.
Time waits for no man. So we got all kinds of things to talk about. We've got hot button topics. We can talk about your national champion Ohio State Buckeyes. That they are out there. They did that damn thing last night. That was such a crazy Ohio State situation, just to jump out on top, get it all the way up to 21 points, and then all of a sudden it was like, okay, all right, that's a little close. And then Will Howard puts his big boy pants on and throws what I said in the group chat. I said, Will Howard, dagger. Like, I was like, there is a dagger there from Will Howard. It is a big boy throw is what that was to Jeremiah Smith. It's just like one of those things where I had mentioned something. I'm like, how do you in that moment, and I kind of understood it a little bit, but how do you in that moment, it is 3rd and 11, right? It's what was the score? It was like 34 or 31 to whatever it was, 31 to 23, whatever it was. It's 31-23, right? Because the final was
that sounds right.
Because the final was 34-23. And so you're talking like, man, touchdown, 2-point conversion is like, it's 3rd and 11, and you go to the brands tab, Nick. That's where our overlay is. The brands tab.
Yeah, I got it.
No, you have the scroller at the bottom. You got to put the overlay on the top.
Ah, okay. All right, I can work with that.
Yeah. But you sit there in that situation. You go man coverage on Jeremiah Smith with no help over the top. And you're just like, yeah, that's going to be cool. I'm going to do that. And somebody mentioned to me like, but they had been playing 10 people in the box the last 2 snaps. I'm like, yeah, I know, because Ohio State was going to try to run the ball, get the first down, run the clock out, all that good stuff. So I understood 1st and 2nd down. It's 3rd and 11. You're in the shotgun. You need 2 people on Jeremiah Smith was the only point I wanted to make. MC, you can leave. Bring that stupid shit in here. I ain't doing this tonight. I ain't doing it tonight. I know he's, did Jeff tell you to say that, MC? Are you listening to Jeff again? I don't like now that you and Jeff have become friends. Because now you're ganging up on me.
Well,
things just to irritate me.
Just real quick before we get into the Browns, like, to me, that was a legacy throw from Will Howard, man.
It was a legend maker. Yep.
Yeah, that, just like Jack Sawyer in the previous round, with his strip and return, it's like Will Howard makes that throw, man, and because you could see Buckeyes are clamming up a little bit, it's getting tighter, and you wonder for a second, you're like, we saw them get really conservative against Michigan. And that ended up costing them the game. And so for them to air it out like that, and the way that Notre Dame had said, they were going to play man and to burn them in that way with Jeremiah Smith. And for Jeremiah Smith, it's like you've got multiple more years of this guy, and he just made the biggest play in the title game, and so you're just looking at it and saying, man, Ohio State they could probably just do just about whatever they want now. And I think I made this comparison. I was tweeting out. It's just like it's such a different world to root for Ohio State, man. That they're always they're such a well-run organization. They're always competitive. They have all this backing, and it's just such a polar opposite. It's everything I want the Browns to be. And I think my idea coming into this episode is like talking about how we get the Browns to what we want them to be. And so it was really cool to see Ohio State get to the top of the mountain last night. A happy Victory Tuesday to you, my fellow Buckeye.
Yeah, happy Victory Tuesday to everybody out there who had a good time. I've got the hat on order. I got the national championship locker room.
I gotta get that.
You gotta go to their website. It's a little harder to find than you think it is. You can find national championship hats, but I wanted the locker room hat that they were wearing on the TV directly afterwards. They're like $45. Like just give you a little fair warning. They're a little bit pricey, but like I had to do it. You know what I mean? I had to do it. First year of the 4-team college football playoff. The first year of the college football playoff, Ohio State won the national title. The first year of the 12-team college football playoff, Ohio State won the national title. If they change formatting next year, I think Ohio State will probably win the national title.
And again.
Let's just do it.
Math checks.
Do it, cowards. Do it. And then like you've got the annoying Michigan fans that the whole time they're like, oh, who cares? You bought your roster. Okay. Oh, hey, by the way, we beat you. Okay. Hey, we beat you. This means nothing. Nope. National title, suck my dick. I don't give a fuck.
Champions. And you ran through, I think you beat everybody in the top 5 of the final poll. Is that what I saw? Ohio State.
Yeah. You beat. You beat 6 of the top 10.
6 of the top 10.
Because Indiana made the top 10, the final AP top 10, hold on a second. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because Tennessee, you beat Tennessee, and you beat
Oregon. And
no, I think it's hold on. Yeah, but I'm thinking I want to see the final.
I got it too. I just haven't found it yet. But I'm working on it.
I had it just like the other day or just a little bit ago. So the top 5 for the final AP rankings was Ohio State, Notre Dame, Oregon, Texas, Penn State. You beat Notre Dame, Oregon, Texas, and Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go down to number 9 is Tennessee, and number 10 is Indiana, and you beat both of those teams too. So you're looking at 6 out of the 10, right? 1, 2, 3, 4.
6 out of 9. Nice.
6 out of 10. 6 out of the top 10 because Indiana was 10.
Well, so I'm just saying, you count if you count Ohio State, you can't beat yourself.
Yeah. But you beat those teams like that. That's what you did. You beat everybody in the top 5 except for yourself.
Oh yeah. So how can you dispute that, right? Like every team, it's becoming more like the NFL, man. It's like every team's going to drop some games, especially when you've got so much competition and the talent getting spread out further in college football. I guess it depends how you look at it, but I just think this felt more like an NFL season to me, where it's like, yeah, the Chiefs are going to play the Bills or whatever during the regular season, and it's like, yeah, that's a really big game, but like all that really matters then is what happens in the playoffs.
Well, they played 16 games. Ohio State played 16 games.
Yeah, that's an NFL schedule, man.
Notre Dame did too.
Yeah,
and some teams could have had to play 17 if they had played in their conference championship game and then gone to the national championship.
And just the way
both teams that were in the national championship didn't play in a conference,
right? I just think that because there were more games and because of a lot of the hosts of the games this year, it's like you got to see more cold weather college football than I think we normally are treated to. And to me, that just felt a lot more NFL-y than it ever has before. Did you get that vibe, Jacob?
Yeah, no, it did. It did. It felt like a real different kind of. It was different. It felt
Yeah,
different. It
yeah.
felt more. It was harder. I mean, like for all intents and purposes, you're going through an absolute buzzsaw. And Ohio State did not have an easy path. Like they
No.
didn't play SMU. They didn't play Indiana with Curtis Rourke playing on one leg. Like in the playoffs, I know they did play that Indiana team, but like they didn't play a Boise team. You know, they played Tennessee. They played the number one team, the undefeated Oregon, who had already beat them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they played a very good Texas team. That is a great Texas defense. And Notre Dame is a scrappy. I love what Marcus Freeman has done with Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Like, talent wise, like, were you superior to them? Yes. But you know what you weren't going to do? You weren't going to out effort Notre Dame because Notre Dame was going to, you were going to have to put your big boy pants on and bring it for 60 minutes, and which is
Mm-hmm.
what they had to do because Notre Dame, for all intents and purposes, Notre Dame was out of it the first drive into the third quarter. I thought, okay, I
Yeah.
was like, I'm gonna lean back and I'm just gonna relax. And then all of a sudden, it's like, um,
Right.
uh,
Yeah.
boys, here come the Irish, you know, and it's like, I,
And let's be honest. Let's be honest. That game gets real tight if Will Howard doesn't make that throw to Jeremiah Smith. And all the credit in the world to Jeremiah for coming down with that ball.
I I have a feeling that if Jeremiah doesn't come down with, yeah, he is. Marcus Freeman is from Huber Heights, Ohio. Yep, he was
Mm-hmm.
was an Ohio State Buckeye as a
Who
player.
isn't, man? Who isn't?
Um, I Marcus Freeman's great. And Drew said it's crazy cold. Yeah, it is currently where I am 1 degree.
Mm.
It is. It is 1 degree. You see, I got my new beanie. Everybody see my beanie? You like my beanie?
I got a hat too. We're staying toasty, man.
We're staying. Where is this? It's cold. I got the. Do you know one of my favorite things in the world is like to look outside when it's cold and I'm warm and be like, just like,
I'm a big Civilization player, and I've just been putting Civ on because for anybody who doesn't ever play, that's like an all day affair, right? If you're playing Civ, you're gonna dump 8 hours into that baby. And I just watch the snow fall down outside my window. It's great.
yeah, I like to like get on the get my the corner of my couch, the little ottoman right there, you know, the chaise lounge as they say, and some blankets, play some Pokemon. Okay, let's talk about the Browns, I guess. Do whatever the hell we want.
Dude, I have one question. One question for you because Avita and I were having this conversation the other day because I'm slowly sucking her into sports little by little. Like we went to our first Guardians game together. We went to our first Cavs game together. We went to. She's been to. Yeah, she's been to. I took her to all the Cleveland sports. Okay, and she wanted to know the other day why, especially in the Midwest, like sports seem to be so much bigger than in other places like California or like Miami or whatever. It's like they got some
Because
hardcore.
they got other they got actual they got stuff they can actually do.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I was telling her. I was like, it sucks outside. Nobody's going anywhere or doing anything. It's like you are putting on sports, and that is what we do here.
And if you're going anywhere, it's to watch sports.
Yeah. Do you buy that though? That the climate makes sports that much bigger.
And don't get me wrong, there are places that have good weather that sports are a big deal. But do I think the Midwest this time of year gets even more intense about it, especially like basketball and things like that? Yeah, because it's too cold to do anything else. and it's like I always I was talking to my buddy about I've been hitting the gym pretty hard and being pretty strict into it. We were just having a conversation about it, and I was like, this is when it gets really hard because I don't want to go. You get home from work or whatever, and you don't want to be. That's why we won the Civil War, because we watched lots of sports. That's right. But I get in, like in this case, I'm on the road, but I get to the hotel room or you get back to your house, whatever it is. It's like I don't want to go back outside to get to my truck to go to the gym. Like, and so that it becomes this thing where it's like I love going to the gym. I like being healthy. I enjoy all these things, but there's an extra little push you got to get this time of year because even though I'm just going to walk outside, get in my truck, heat up my truck, and then go somewhere where it's going to be warm and I'm going to be exercising and feeling warm.
There's nothing worse. Okay, you get all sweaty at the gym, right? And like me, I'm not a guy who lingers at the gym. I go to the gym, get on the equipment, make it happen, and I get out, right? So sometimes I'll work up a real good sweat and it'll be like 10 degrees outside
That's
and you
rough.
go outside. Oh God. Because I don't want to bring my coat in the gym.
I don't want to put my coat back on. If I'm sweating, I don't want to put a coat in the sweat, even though I know that I need to. I know that I need to because it's going to be very uncomfortable if I don't do it. I'm like, fuck this. I don't want to do this. And then I go, it's like, so then it becomes, it's like, man, you've lost a lot of weight. And it's like, yeah, because all I can do is cardio because I don't want to go out. I don't want to go anywhere.
You're inspirational, friendo. I find because Vita and I have been talking about how we got to get back to going. And we built up some momentum there and we lost it. And so it's like, we got to do it again. And you've been kicking ass. So shout out to you.
Thank you. Sure. Let's talk a little bit. I don't want to dive too terribly deep into some of the Tommy Rees talk for a couple of reasons. One, I want Casey to be present for that conversation. We'll talk about him a little bit, but I think we'll wait to get into the philosophical side of things and that kind of thing. I don't want to go super in depth is all I'm saying. We're going to have that conversation about Tommy Rees and what I think about that. So let's talk about Tommy Rees. So the Browns hired Tommy Rees. Car battery went. Oh yeah, Drew said he had to go to the hospital where his wife was to jump her car battery because it wouldn't start because of the cold. Yeah, my truck. This is not a very old truck. It's a 2022. When you go to start it up, it's like burr, 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 burr. It's like, oh, okay. But anyway, Tommy Rees, the Browns hired Tommy Rees, elevate him from the tight ends coach. There was a lot of conversations, some people being like, oh, why would you hire from within with one of the worst offenses in shut up, MC. He said, it's cold here too. It's 58. That's what Casey tried to do to me today. He was like, hey, it's snowing. It's like 37 or something like that. That's what he was saying. And I'm like, dude, it is 9. This is when I talked to Casey earlier. It was like, it's 9 right now. This is when the sun was up. Obviously, it's 1 now. I'm like, I don't shove your 35 up your ass.
My buddy lives in Tampa. And Dave, if you're watching, shout out to you. And he'll be like, oh, yeah, it's so frigid here. It's a real chilly 65 or whatever. And I'm like, you're a fucking bastard.
You know, this weekend I went outside. It was like 40 degrees. I went outside in shorts and a t-shirt for a while because it was 42. It was like 42 degrees.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, this is nice out here. And my wife's like, what do you do? I was like trying to, because I'm afraid my gutters are going to come down because they've got all this ice that's been caked in my gutters for 3 weeks or whatever since that big snowstorm like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I mean, it's thick. Like I'm up in these gutters, like hitting it with a driving tool. Like I got a punch out tool. You punch holes to bolt things to walls and stuff, big metal spike. And I got a hammer and I cannot get all this ice out there. And I'm doing it in shorts and a t-shirt. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, it's 42 degrees. It feels great out here.
Yeah, you adjust. Like, so when we went to New Orleans for the Browns game, one of my friends who used to, like, we grew up with him here, and he's been in Texas for like, I think 4 years, right? All of us from Ohio were walking around New Orleans in shorts and a t-shirt. I think it was like 70. I'm not sure. And he's wearing a hoodie, and like at random points I look at him and he's shivering. Like I shit you not, 70. He was like, because we went in somewhere that had like the AC on, and it's crazy. Like it works both ways, man. Like you either become freaking polar bears or you become whatever it is for those.
I would much rather be cold when it's 70 than deal with 1 degree. I will admit that. And So I make the jokes, but so the Browns hired Tommy Rees. They elevate their tight ends coach very well. Here's the thing that I come to with Tommy Rees as the offensive coordinator. One thing people say is like, well, how are you hiring from within one of the worst offenses in football and you're going to elevate someone? And my first reaction is, well, you got to look at the broad view of things, and I hear that argument and I give validity to it in the sense like I get that. I fully get that. I understand the way you feel about that. I understand all of it. What's up, Christian? Good to see you, buddy. Hate Florida. Okay, MC. Well, yeah, because you get like alligators and all that good stuff down there. It's like I don't need dinosaurs.
Come on back up.
And you're more than welcome to come back up here. So I hear that, but one thing I will say is keep in mind that look at the tight end position, what it did this year. Jordan Akins looked a lot better, didn't he? He was a lot better. He actually was pretty good. David was hurt again, so he really battled all throughout there. So I'll say, at least the part that Tommy Rees was really in charge of, I don't think was an utter disappointment, like kind of because the whole thing was. So, but when you look at that, when you talk about a position coach, you talk about a guy who was 30, that was his first NFL job. Let's keep that in mind. That was the first year he had as an NFL coach. But one thing I go back to is everybody I talk to, that the sources at the OBR that we had coming in all around talk about this kid I say kid because I'm older than Tommy Rees. That hurt me. That really hurt me when I was like,
first.
They're like, hey, we got an offensive coordinator. And he's 32. And I'm like, oh no.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, I've crossed that barrier. Great. And so, but when you hear great offensive mind, up and comer, like we don't know how close, because I've heard a bunch of conflicting reports, how close it was for Mike Vrabel to try to bring him to New England. I heard something from Jake Burns really pointed out, and some other people online talking about like the biggest reason they think maybe he didn't go to New England was potentially that in Vrabel's case, whoever his OC is going to be the CEO of the entire offense, so to speak. And people are like, well, he's a great up and coming offensive mind, but maybe he's not ready to be the full blown CEO. Well, in Cleveland, he's not going to be the full-blown CEO because of Kevin Stefanski. And so maybe that's why Cleveland in the end was more likely to do it. But I did hear some sources that believe that if the Browns hadn't done it, he was going to New England. And even if he hadn't gone to New England as the OC, he was going to go to New England for a promotion, and the Browns just didn't want to let him out of the building.
And I think I don't know if you've seen the reports yet, but it looks like Josh McDaniels is going to be hired in New England.
Yeah, and it's my understanding that he has been. They're just hammering out the details. Yeah.
So time is a flat circle, but with Josh McDaniels, right? But with Josh McDaniels, you 100% know, like Mike Vrabel's just going to say, Josh, you do the whole thing, man. You do the whole thing, and so it's like, maybe New England might have been a little bit more hesitant with a guy who is 32. Although Jacob and I were talking about this yesterday off air. Now we're going to bring it to on air. Anytime you can be Nick Saban's offensive coordinator at 30 years old, I don't know, man. Like that, I find that highly encouraging. And you see these guys that just shoot up through the NFL ranks, right? Like who was Ben Johnson like 5 years ago? But it's like then all of a sudden, it takes a few good years and suddenly, you're known throughout the league and talked about as so. I like the shot of taking it one of the younger guys, Kevin's already was younger when he was a head coach, but I like the way that because if they turn this around, which we're all hoping they do, it's like suddenly you have this staff that to me still feels primed to build some longevity, because that's what they've been trying to do, right? And maybe more successfully or less successfully than we wanted it to be. But I still like the idea that you're hiring these guys that are young. And it's like if Mike Vrabel gets the full peek behind the curtain in the Browns organization, and we know for a fact that he was working with the offensive line. So he probably was working with Tommy Rees. Like, excuse me. He was probably like obviously they're in different position groups, but they're going to be working with each other as they're putting together their offensive plan. So clearly Mike thought enough of what Tommy was saying, what Tommy was doing, that he said, hey, maybe this guy can run our whole offense. So I feel like that's an endorsement of him. I feel like he's had some higher profile jobs before he came to the NFL, and I find it promising. It feels like something that like Kevin already knows him, and you like do they really want to switch out offensive coordinators again after? Do they really want to bring in another new offensive coordinator that wasn't in the building again after a year? That's a lot of turnover, you know. Whereas like you at least have some
the terminology. You're at least not learning new terminology. I mean,
Right.
some of it's going to be new because you learned some of the stuff for Ken Dorsey, and you're going to go away from some of that stuff. But you might use similar terminology so that it's not such a steep learning curve, which kind of makes sense. But the thing is that I've heard from like, if you really want to know, like at least the way Tommy Rees is kind of thought of in coaching by older coaches who think he is an up and comer. Go look at what Saban said about him when he was the OC for Alabama. And I mean, like, and everybody's like, oh, well, it's coach speak. He was coaching for Saban. Of course, Saban said that. Saban's not that guy. Like Saban's not the like, yeah, he's a, Saban will just be like, yeah, he's good. Look at all the people that were his OCs. They were big names. You know, it was Bill O'Brien when he was coming back. It was Lane Kiffin when he had been fired. It was Steve Sarkisian before he goes to Texas and brings Texas back on the map and all this stuff. And then he was like, Tommy Rees. He's not going to go from like, I've had all these really, really talented guys that I'm just going to pick some random dude from Notre Dame, make him my OC, let him be the play caller and the CEO. In a year where Jalen Milroe, it was his first year as the starter, he gets benched, all these things happen, and it was given to a 30-year-old. I don't know if Tommy Rees is going to be anything, but a lot of really smart people think he is. And a lot of football people, and I'm not just talking about the people in Cleveland, because I understand we're mad at the people in Cleveland for 3-14, and we should be mad at the people in Cleveland for 3-14. I'm just talking about Vrabel's a guy that came in. He's seen a lot of good football. He thought really highly of Tommy Rees. Nick Saban thought highly of Tommy Rees. And do not forget, if Bill Belichick had not gone to North Carolina, they were going to hire Tommy Rees as their head coach. Tommy Rees was the runner-up for the head coaching job in North Carolina for all the reports, everything like that they were potentially prepared to go that route. Now, if Bill Belichick doesn't go there, maybe Tommy Rees doesn't get the job, but that is what all signs were pointing towards, was that was going to be that. And that just tells me that people that know football believe Tommy Rees knows football, and I'm encouraged by that. That's it. That's it. I'm not gonna say he's probably not calling plays, like no. So I'm not gonna go like, oh my god, But it's like one thing they kept coming back to that I really, really like about Tommy Rees when they're like talking about like why they think he's a good coach and all these things is like communicator. I've heard that from so many people talking about him, like his communication skills. He relates to the players. He was a quarterback in Notre Dame. Like he's been in a very highly scrutinized position, it's interesting just to hear the way other respected coaches talk about him. And as a result, I feel really good about the potential of the hire. I feel better about this hire than I did Ken Dorsey. That's
I do too.
That's what I'll say. Ken Dorsey for me, I wasn't furious about Ken Dorsey, but it was like I remember pretty much exactly what I tweeted was something along the lines of wasn't my first choice by any means, but I don't hate it. Turns out I should have hated it.
I
But I feel better.
I bought in. But I just think you can see more. Okay, the Browns go 3-14, and typically that type of season, tears organizations apart, tears people apart, finger pointing, and I get it. Obviously, Dorsey's gone, but there is something that encourages me about the fact that they both went through this tough season and they did it together. And when they end the season, obviously both Kevin, the organization, and Tommy Rees feel like they see some sort of cohesion with them that they can say, hey, right, even though this went terribly, we can see this working, right? And like maybe you'd be more skeptical if Kevin hadn't already created good offenses in Cleveland, but if Kevin because they know that everything for me about this Browns offseason is shaped by the perspective that I think that this regime knows that this is their last shot to get this right. And so in that frame of mind, if Kevin's picking his offense court, he's not going to make these decisions lightly. And so for them to have already gone through the season, for the endorsements already, and just have been in the building and been through basically the worst case scenario Brown season together, and to come out of that agreeing that they can be successful moving forward, I find that encouraging, because there's no way you can go through that season, and if you don't think that the other person, whether it be Stefanski or Rees, knows what they're doing, you're not going to sign up to work long term. And for Tommy Rees, it's like you're finally you're named an offensive coordinator in the NFL. If you don't think this thing's going to work, if you think the regime's going to get fired, you're probably not signing up to be an offensive coordinator, because you're looking to build on this, right?
I think he's trying to be a head coach.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
He wants to be a head coach somewhere.
So if you don't fully believe in it, you're not signing on to be an offensive coordinator. And so for those factors, I feel good about it. I do.
Yeah. Drew, I tweeted the surface toss. My favorite thing is you got the Rage Dorsey stuff from last year, and then you also have the Rage Tommy Rees job where have you seen that video of Tommy Rees that surfaced?
Oh yeah.
Do your fucking job. Which is my favorite, because like I feel like I've yelled that at people, and I was like, damn, which is just absolutely hilarious just to think about that sort of stuff. And side note, selfish plug. If you are curious, I did put over on the OBR.com a full in-depth breakdown of Cam Ward and his game, complete with, I think I mashed up 15-ish minutes of all 22 tape, just to kind of highlight some of the things that he can do. And I got his strengths and his weaknesses on there. Next week, we will have on Tuesday at the OVR, I will have the profile for Shedeur Sanders. So, spoiler, I don't think he's a first-round talent, but whatever.
Shedeur.
Yeah, Shedeur. Yeah. No, Cam's the only one I would take. At the top. Here's the thing about Shedeur Sanders. They list him at 215 pounds.
He's not a big dude. He's not a big dude. I think he's tall enough.
He's 6'2". You know who he's very similar in size to? You know who's listed as 217 pounds and everybody cries about?
Jaden Daniels?
Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He's about the size of DTR. And that is something that I
think, okay, Jacob, this lends itself to like the biggest conversation I've been having on the Twitter sphere basically for weeks now.
DTR is 205, so I guess he's got 10 pounds on him.
Okay, but even so, I just okay. So personally, I get it that you could look at it and you could say, there's Mason Graham, there's Abdul Carter, there's, Travis Hunter, whatever. But I just, like I told you, assuming that this regime understands that this is their only year to get it right, I just like, are you really gonna just throw your faith into Kirk Cousins or Sam Darnold? Or, and granted, Sam Darnold made a hell of a case. I get that, but it just feels like there's so little that's guaranteed about the future of like, maybe if this regime was new. If this regime was new, then yeah, you're back where you drafted Myles Garrett. And you say, okay, this is the year where we got to start accumulating talent so we can bring a quarterback in here, and I get that, right? Like maybe you could advocate for patience, but I just don't. And I get what you're saying, right? Like obviously, quarterbacks always get overdrafted, but you saying that you don't see him as a first round pick, that's a little scary. But at the same time, I just don't know. Like this regime just doesn't have the option to say, okay, let's wait until 2026. They just don't.
No. You never say something like that. Like this is my thing. I hate that. I hate both arguments. I hate which is so lame of me to say. It's just like I hate it both. I hate all of it. I hate the quarterback no matter what argument. I get it. I do get it. Like I don't like it. I don't agree with it, but I get it. Like I mean, I've been there. I've there've been years where where I'm like, there is no conceivable route that doesn't happen unless you do this. I've been there. I get it. I understand that. But I also don't like if I don't take a quarterback at 2, it means I'm punting till 2026. I don't Jalen Hurts wasn't a first round pick, was he?
I get it.
I'm
the answers beyond the first round statistically are not great though. And so this is basically the entire crux of the Browns off season. It's like
it's around quarterback.
Right. But the idea is like if you had fired them all and then said, okay, we're pushing the reset button here. Okay, I can live with that. But my biggest fear is that you don't find this quarterback option. You're 2-4, 2-5. Myles Garrett requests a trade, whatever. Because I just think in overall, if the team is not winning next year, this core, who you're looking at 2 guards that are going to be, or 2 Conklin and
Joel.
Sorry, Joel's already old. Wyatt Teller. Sorry, Conklin and Teller are both going into their age 31 season, and
Right.
you're looking. They're both going to be 31, I believe. And Myles Garrett's already drawn his line in the sand. Denzel Ward is. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how many more.
Both Denzel and Myles both said we're not that far off.
So I get that, and that's great to hear. But that and avoiding a slow start and then the inevitable tear down trade rumors that come with it is paramount then. And so it's like, if you're bringing this regime back, if I'm Jimmy Haslam, if you're bringing this regime back, I need to know, how are you going to start 4-2 next year? How are you going to put this team on the path that says we need to keep this core together because we can compete here and now, and not end up at this regime is fired and we need to really push the reset button and trade away all these guys? Because that's the biggest deal. So because Jacob, if you're telling me you're picking 2, right? So obviously if Cam Ward goes 1, which it seems like all of a sudden, I know it's going to change a million times between now and April, but all of a sudden it seems like the momentum is for Cam Ward at 1, right? And then you're looking at it, and Jacob, you're saying to me that Shedeur Sanders might not even be a first-round talent. So then I say, like, what is the logic to bringing back this regime? Like, are we really just putting our eggs in Sam Darnold or Kirk Cousins or whatever? Or what are we doing?
Have they not shown themselves capable of winning with that?
I mean, prior to last year, yeah, but it was a. I mean, so I would like to hope that maybe Dorsey and Stefanski just couldn't make that thing work together, and or maybe the lack of belief. I'm not sure.
There was more than just that, but yes, it was very DOA. That when they got to camp and they saw what they had and they knew they had to roll with it, it was dead, which is very, very disheartening, very disappointing. And then the offensive line, the scheme changes. They couldn't run the ball, so they weren't able to do. Even once Watson was gone, they weren't able to do the things that they had done successfully prior to Watson, or even when Watson was hurt in 23. They weren't able to do those things, and they didn't catch lightning in a bottle. They had a tougher schedule down the stretch, and it was like, because Flacco beat up on some bad teams, so that helped a little bit and some things like that. So my thing is, and MC kind of said it in the comments, I'm not throwing away the second overall pick to pick a subpar quarterback. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that. That does not make sense to me. It doesn't compute to me, because what I can do is I can take a second round quarterback with tremendous upside. I can trade into the first round, and I can take Jalen Milroe. Milroe's got the highest ceiling of anybody in this class. I think Cam Ward's is up there, but Cam Ward's not the level of athlete that Jalen Milroe is. And Jalen Milroe doesn't have quite the overall arm talent, but he has a fucking bazooka. And they know a lot about Jalen Milroe because they got his offensive coordinator as their offensive coordinator. So they've got, so they know those things. But my thing is also what I think about myself too. And I told you this last night, and I've said it on the OBR and a bunch of other things. It is, can I find somebody that can be Brock Purdy? Can I find somebody that can be Bo Nix? And I don't think that like some of these guys have like, I like Will Howard more than a lot of people do. I even like Kyle McCord. I love Dylan Gabriel. Those guys don't have the arm talent that Bo Nix does, because Bo Nix has arm talent. Like you can say what you want to say, but like with McCord and can those guys be point guards? Yeah, they can. They can, because that's what they've been in college, especially Will Howard and Dylan Gabriel, where it's like nothing about them is elite physically. Same with Kyle McCord. None of those guys have elite arms. The guy with the biggest arms probably Will Howard, although Kyle McCord can push it down the field. They're all kind of athletic. McCord's probably the least athletic, but it's like, can those guys get into a rhythm and timing system? Because that is exactly what Will Howard did. Will Howard get the ball out, go. You know what Will Howard did? He's like, hey, I got that Jeremiah Smith guy over there, I think. And obviously, Cleveland's got a really good wide receiver in Jerry Jeudy, and they've got David Njoku, and I think you need to add more talent. You can use one of your premium picks on more talent, but like, can he throw it up to put it in a spot for his playmakers to go make plays? Yes, he can. So I think you can potentially try to catch lightning in the bottle with one of those quarterbacks and or one of these veterans and get a special player. Abdul Carter to me is a special player. Mason Graham, the defensive tackle from Michigan, is a very safe pick to me, because I think even if he doesn't become what he should be, he at minimum is a really good run defender. You know what I mean? Like, he's always going to, maybe he doesn't get there as a pass rusher, doesn't become quite as disruptive as he was at Michigan, that sort of stuff. And I'm like, because that could very, very much happen. And so I think he's a safe pick. But you're looking at Abdul Carter, who had all of these sacks, all of these pressures, is crazy. He wrecked the Notre Dame game with one arm because he had a shoulder injury, and he's only been a pass rusher for 1 year. This was his first year. Watch him get his ass kicked by Wyatt Milam in West Virginia week 1, and then watch that guy and remember the guy at Notre Dame. They're not the same player. That all happened in the same season. And it's like, that is the level of talent. So what I'm asking you in this situation So what the reason why it's unacceptable to me, let me put it in the way that I think makes it the easiest to quantify, so to speak. The very black, I want to make it very black and white for everybody. The way it works in my head. And this is why I'm saying absolutely not. Okay. So I think Abdul Carter can be Micah Parsons. It is very easy to say stuff like that before they ever play a snap in the NFL. I know that. I study the NFL draft for a living. I get it. But that is that ceiling. That is the kind of player you can get at number 2. And there's other guys. There's some tackles. I don't love the tackles at 2, but and Mason Graham is there. I love Tet McMillan, the wide receiver from Arizona. There's some guys there, but are you going to get a guy that I think his ceiling is potentially Micah Parsons level, and you're going to put him opposite Myles Garrett? That's the biggest part. Or are you going to take a quarterback who at the absolute best is a fragile version of Geno Smith?
I get what you're saying, and like it sounds nice.
That's the best version of him. Nothing about Shedur's physical talent is elite. Nothing.
But so okay, I get it, but you look at all these elite pass rushers across the NFL that don't have quarterbacks, and they haven't won anything. T.J. Watt, Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett, Max Crosby. And so my point to everybody is like, yeah, I get it.
Should they have not drafted those guys and drafted a mediocre quarterback instead? Because they wouldn't have been any better.
I think, well, okay, but hear me out. I get that Myles Garrett and Abdul Carter could be an amazing duo. But if you don't have a quarterback, you're not going to win anything. And if you don't win anything, the regime's getting fired and they're pushing the reset button and tearing down the whole core. So Abdul Carter in a vacuum is a great pick. But so when I'm looking at the Browns in their entirety, they have to they have to be able to look Jimmy Haslam with a straight face. They have to look Myles Garrett and this core with a straight face and say, this is why these are the paths that we have that we believe we can win next year, right? Because they have to win next year. So and inevitably, like we were just talking yesterday, the draft goes sideways and unpredictably every year, no matter how many different versions everybody breaks down that talks about it. So they must see multiple paths to fixing the quarterback position so that they can say, this is why we should preserve this core, and this is why we should try to compete. So I'm okay. I'd be thrilled if you're just getting a more elite talent up at the top of the draft. But then it's like we have to, whatever their plan is, whatever their multiple, they have to have multiple plans because they don't know. Maybe they really like Sam Darnold. That doesn't mean he's going to come here, right? So they have to have multiple plans of like how to get this quarterback, whether it's the second round or whatever. And so it's like, I can absolutely say, yeah, Mason Graham, Abdul Carter, whatever. But it's like, there's got to be something, because I get it. You don't want to force the quarterback option, but it's like, if you're okay, like no matter what happens, they have to have a new quarterback under center.
They'll have one before the draft starts.
I'm sure they will, but it's got to be somebody because if you don't have somebody that you can at least compete with, you as a regime and this core is most likely dead on arrival again, right? So that's just what I'm saying to everybody. It's like you're bringing back this regime. You're trying to keep this core together. You're trying to compete. So you had better have some good answers if you're not taking quarterback at 2 or trading up to 1 if you really just say Cam Ward's the only guy here. You would better have some good answers. Otherwise, then you're just delaying all of this by a year.
Yeah.
And
I'm not arguing that, but I'm arguing that doesn't mean you force something at 2. I find that more insulting than anything. to me. In a way, like what I mean by that is like I feel like I would rather you. Let me think. Let me think how I phrase this. I think making a bad pick um, is more likely to get you fired than not taking a quarterback, so to speak. Because if you say like, "Oh, I'm going to take this quarterback," and then he's like super mediocre, like you're definitely getting fired. And then you just have a mediocre quarterback and nothing else. Whereas like you take the talented player, and then even if you get fired, the new organization's like, well, we got, we don't just have a mediocre quarterback and nothing. I don't love forcing anything, and I don't think anything about this regime has ever screamed that. Like they've never forced positions. And quarterback's different. I get that. Quarterback is it is different than every other position in the sport. Absolutely 100%. And here's my thing. If you sit there and Kevin says, I love Shedeur Sanders, I can win a Super Bowl with Shedeur Sanders, take him. Take him. I don't see it. And what I am arguing is if you don't love him, don't take him. That's what I'm arguing. I'm not saying don't take a quarterback at 2 no matter what. Like, you know what I mean? It's not I'm not on the extreme to the other side. I'm saying if I'm sitting there and Cam is gone and I am trading down, I'm taking Abdul Carter, I'm taking Mason Graham, I'm doing a lot of things before I'm taking Shedeur Sanders. But I also don't have the information that they have. They could have some information that makes them believe that Shedeur is going to be the guy, whatever. I could see a path where Shedeur is very successful in Kevin's offense. That is a clear path to me. Do I think he can be number 2 pick successful? No, I do not. I just don't. I'm sorry. Now, that being said, 1 week from tonight, I will have watched every snap of his 2024 season, and I could very easily have changed some of my opinions on him. I got so much more on board Cam Ward over the weekend, having watched some of the games I had missed. And I watched a couple of games where he wasn't like stat wise, it weren't even that great of a game where I was like, yeah, but you know what I mean? You see, you're like, if I can get this guy to stop throwing it off his back foot, and if I can get him to be a little less Jay Cutler-ish, like I know we do the Jameis Winston comparison, but Jay Cutler, man, Jay Cutler was like, and Cam does that, and I'm like, you son of a bitch. But things like that, and maybe I have a different opinion of it. I just don't think that like you do it no matter. It's just, and if Shedeur comes in at like 210,
I get it.
He takes a lot of hits, man. He holds onto the ball forever, and he runs around like he's Lamar, and it's like, dude, you're just not that level of an athlete. He takes 20-yard sacks more than once. I've seen 20-yard sacks, and like you talk about a gunslinger upsetting Kevin. Could you imagine a quarterback taking a 20-yard sack in a Kevin Stefanski offense? Could you imagine what Kevin would do? But he would be calm on the sideline because he's really good. No. MC, don't you be talking about you and your new buddy Jeff. I don't want to hear it. But that's where I'm at, man. That's why I can't get on the quarterback no matter what. If you truly sit there and you watch Shedeur and you see a franchise quarterback and you love him, I do believe you take him. I don't see that. I'm not going to see that. I don't think. Do I see a path where he's successful? I do. But don't do quarterback no matter what. Do what makes this team the most talented, because what you can do with a really good team is you can help elevate a quarterback until you find that quarterback. I do think under no circumstances should you leave this draft without a rookie. I don't care.
It has to be one.
Exactly. And I don't care if it ends up being 2 because you love a guy, then do it. If it ends up being like I have this right now, man, I can't get the trading up for Jalen Milroe in the back end of the first round out of my head.
Okay.
Like, and here's the thing, me and you talked about this. Reese might hate Jalen Milroe. We don't know.
Right.
It's a possibility. But like if Reese is sitting there and he's like, listen, because from everything I've heard about Jalen Milroe, like the kid, the person, people rave about him. Hard worker, great leader. Teammates love to play with him. He leaves everything on the field. You know, that sounds like my kind of guy. And he's like, listen, because he's very rough around the edges. He's rough around the edges more so than any quarterback in this class. But he's a dynamic runner. Dude, I think he's going to run 4.4. He could run in the low 4.4s, high 4.3s. Like, I think he's really, really fast. Like, and maybe I'm overestimating what I'm seeing and because he's running against non-NFL talent, but I think he's really, really fast. He's got a bazooka, things like that. You have to get a quarterback, but I don't think you have to get it at a certain spot in this draft. But you need to have brought in 2 veterans. No matter what, I need two new veteran quarterbacks. Even if one of them's bringing back Jameis Winston, I need those guys before we get to.
I think Kevin would sooner jump in the lake than bring back Jameis Winston, if I'm being honest with you.
I go back and forth on it because if they had a run game,
I know,
and he was throwing the ball 30 times a game as opposed to 45.
It's 2 straight years. Since Nick Chubb went down in Pittsburgh, they haven't ran the ball worth a piss at any point. Like Jerome Ford broke some runs, but that's really the entirety. Like if Jerome wasn't breaking anything, they were not putting together any consistent rushing game. And I just want to say this about the quarterback conversation. I get it. You can find your guy later. And you can sell me on Sam Darnold, okay? If the Browns won, what the Vikings win? 13 games
14.
or something?
14.
Okay. If the Browns won 14 games, that would be the greatest season of my life. So you can sell me on Sam Darnold. I do think he would fit just with like he did with Kevin O'Connell, like with Kevin Stefanski. You can sell me on that. But I think one of the biggest things is, can they get whatever rookie quarterback they like? Okay, you've got the first pick in the second round. Somehow, some way, you got to do like the Ravens did. If you really like one of these guys, that 5th-year option on that rookie quarterback contract is a must-have to me. It's a must,
especially if it's a developmental quarterback you don't want to play right away.
Right. So fine. You want to bring Kirk Cousins in? You want to bring? I don't want to say Derek Carr because I don't think I could get. I don't think I'd be very excited about that.
I don't think he's cuttable.
Okay, so like Sam Darnold, Kirk Cousins, something like that. God, my pie in the sky dream is Matt Stafford, but I know that's not realistic.
Jacoby.
Sure, we talked about Jacoby. Can you imagine though Matt Stafford and Kevin Stefanski's offense? I think it would be awesome.
It'd be fun.
Awesome. Yeah, it would be fun. But that's what I'm saying is I think hopefully, because we always talk about how these quarterbacks fly up the boards. Like do you think you would agree that they would prioritize getting that 5th-year option on a quarterback contract? Would you not?
Obviously, they haven't drafted one that high, but yeah, I would think so.
Okay. Because then that's like if you're still picking a guy in the first round, if you take like Abdul Carter or something and you come away like kind of like the Vikings, the Vikings were able to finagle it so it's like they could get JJ McCarthy, but they didn't have to give up first round pick, and they've just been able to retain a lot of value. Like maybe you could just be the Vikings for like like do what they did, like just take that step up as a franchise. Like again, the Vikings got eliminated, but it's like they just extended Kevin O'Connell. They just had this great season that no one expected them to have.
And you know how they did that though?
Nah.
They put the most talented team on the field. And I know they spent a first round pick on a quarterback and stuff, but they had such a good team around the quarterback because you can't tell me Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson didn't have a lot to do with Sam's success.
True.
And that's my point. That's my argument. They're the biggest part of the argument for why I take Abdul Carter and I just find a guy that can run the offense until I can find that special guy.
This is a great conversation because I do feel like you always help shape the perspective. I feel like our conversations help for each other because I agree.
I get where you're coming from. I just can't get there. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But I'm not saying your point isn't valid because I see the validity in it.
But I agree. It's not like it would like, although I've been like team get your quarterback, it would be way less scary to just get Mason Graham or Abdul Carter or whatever, and you just say, hey, this defense is going to be fun, man.
You're like, hey, we're going to have to win these games like 17-14, but damn it, we beat the 49ers with 19.
Yeah. It's just, you know what? I feel like if we were having this discussion 365 days ago, you could get me to buy into any of this stuff. And I'd just be like, yeah, I just watched PJ Walker win and
against the 49ers.
And even Dorian Thompson Robinson beat the Steelers, man. You know what I'm saying?
Had a big boy drive in that game too.
Yeah. Yes, he did. I was with you for that game. And so it's like, I feel like every year is so impactful on the narrative and all of that stuff. But it's also really important to roll the clock back and say, okay, maybe they just punted on the year because they did everything they could to build around the other quarterback that wasn't going to do it. Maybe before that, they knew what they were doing, and this was a massive speed bump. But maybe they can just display that they do know what they're doing and buy that faith back and really start to move beyond this whole thing.
Maybe, but we are doing a big fix your franchise style episode coming up in the next coming weeks. We'll put that thing together here soon, and we'll tell you exactly how they fix it.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be fun, and I'll tell you what, for us having been gone for 2 weeks, we had all kinds of people here. Again, thank you guys so much, and Jacob, I miss your face. We miss Casey, and he'll be back, and we're gonna have. We're planning some more stuff. It's like all of a sudden the days are getting a little longer. I know we're eventually going to get warmer weather. So it's I feel like our collective energy will rise with that. And we're going to be bringing you, draft talk's going to heat up. We're going to have, it's going to be fun. We got picks again. We got all this stuff. And then you end, so we'll see. But you end day one and then it's the Browns are on the clock. If they keep that pick, that's going to be really fun. There's a ton of stuff coming. And I really feel like we've exhaled from the season, and it's we're starting to really take it in again. Jacob's studying all this tape. I'm not doing that level, but I am looking at all these guys, and originally I started talking about Cam. I'm going to look at more Cam Ward, Jacob. You're going to come next week with more Shedeur Sanders. I'm going to come next week with more Cam Ward. And we're going to propose some, we're going to start the I don't know if it's going to be the official Fix Your Franchise episode, but we're going to start on that path, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Hell yeah. So this has been a very enlightening episode of the Barking Browns Show. Nick, he's Jacob. Go Browns.
Go Mustache.
Bronco Jacob. Oh, I forgot I have to end this stream.
Yeah, you gotta.